Hi, I'm Michelle Bella, here with Andy Lopez, the Invisible Gardener, and today we're going to talk about the health of your soil. Andy, tell us why it's so important to have healthy soil.
The health of the soil determines the health of anything that eats anything grown in the soil. So any animals, bird, trees, whatever, it determines their health. It's as simple as that.
Wow, I just saw a quote that ties in with what you just said by Lao Tzu,
Cool.
and it's love yourself as you love the world, then you can truly care for all things.
Okay, so tell me how that has to do with soil health.
Well, because if you take care of the soil, that you take care of yourself because you're taking care of your food supply,
Right,
taking care of the oxygen and the chlorophyll transfer, or
right. So
carbon
love your soil. Love your soil.
as you love yourself, and then it's easier to take care of all things.
That is wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. Love your soil. I think that's going to be one of our newest statements. Love your soil. I haven't said that at all in a long time. Thank you. That's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love that.
So tell us about soil health. Why is it so important?
Soil health is important because, if you eat good food, you'll be healthier, right? If you eat bad food, you won't be healthy. Same thing with the plants and the trees and the insects. The health of the soil is important because if it's functioning, then it produces healthy things, healthy food for us to eat.
Right. So toxins in the soil, how do we tell us a little bit about that?
Well, when you talk about toxins, everybody knows it's bad. Bad for us to take in toxins in our bodies, and it's also bad for the soil to be taking toxins in our body. City water alone kills the biology of the soil. City water alone does that. And there's tons of other toxins from pesticides, chemical fertilizers, all kinds of things humans do from plastics, right? Radiations, all these are toxic.
Um, uh, Pest control men that come and spray for ants,
Yes, right, right. They,
um, licensed arborists that shoot toxins in the trees.
that's right.
I even heard that my trees were diseased, my palm trees, and they were on the verge of being maybe cut down by
Right,
necessity due to arborists giving me that information that they couldn't be healed.
right.
I'll take a picture and show you what you've done. They're looking incredible. They're the tops are all green and it's all
It's
rejuvenated.
it's it's a miracle. To me, it's a miracle when something does that. It clearly shows that they don't know what they're talking about when they say we have to cut it down. Because that's the same thing with doctors. You cut the arm off, right? Whatever. It's totally ridiculous. And
But I
it's the
did
microbes.
notice, yeah, on PCH, a mutual friend of ours, they did cut their palm trees down. They're gone.
Right. And once they're gone, they're gone. You can't put them back up again. And it's the same thing with the body. The doctors will say, cut it out.
Right, right. But you talk about microbes too, Andy, with that. Is that what saved my palm trees? And tell us a
Yes,
little about that.
yes, man. The microbes are really the invisible gardener of the soil.
Wow.
And they do such a wonderful job, and only they can provide the proper nutrition plants and humans need. And that's Mother Nature's work. We can't replace that. We can't do what those microbes do. And it's a whole different system entirely because nobody's saying, gee, I need to love my soil, right? I need to love my soil. Because if you do that, you will take better care of your soil. In other words, you're taking care of the biology in the soil because it's not the soil. Soil is like a building. It's the little creatures that live in the building that we really want to take care of. See?
And so you think back once upon a time, though, those microbes all existed naturally
Yes, ma'am.
as we've used chemical fertilizers and
Right, right. In the good old days, there were thousands, if not billions and billions of animals recycling everything all over the place and everything was functioning. Now we have a problem, and most, especially in the homeowners, Nothing. I tell people, when's the last time an animal died in your backyard and decomposed? So that process has been really degraded a lot.
Yeah, that reminds me of something really odd you had said a while ago, and you can elaborate on that. Burying a stomach of a cow?
Right. So Rudolf Steiner, very clever dude, realized that Mother Nature has a way of doing things. So all animals have microbes in their tummy, different kinds of microbes. And there's some microbes that are really, really better for that. When you think about it, these are the animals that poo-poo everywhere, and they're grazing. You know, they eat the grasses and stuff like that. They have a specific type of stomach. So this guy said, well, why don't we take the stomach of a cow and make our preparations, you know, biodynamic preparations that they make. They make it in the stomach of the cow. They bury that. The microbes in the stomach activate whatever the preparation is. See, and that's so cool. That's really cool. We don't, so when people, don't realize that we have microbes in our stomach, but we don't have the same microbes as the cow does, right? Or as the elephant, or it has to do with the type of stomach that you have and the way it works. When we evolve, we have our own microbes, but it's dedicated to feeding us. We
Right.
can't eat rock dust, for example.
Right, but and that's so we have to assist the soil because of the degeneration of it, and then like assisting our body with probiotics.
Exactly right. This compost is like probiotics, right? And that's what we're going to. The next subject I have here is compost, and that's what people think we make compost for recycling, and they were taught that over and over again. So recycle your food in there. They don't say compost is done mainly to heal the soil. That's the number one reason why you make compost. So you want to make good medicine, right? You want to have a good medicine to give to your soil, not junk food, right? See what I mean? And we talked about it before, you said, well, how can, if we're eating all the right food and all the minerals, we don't need to be buying minerals, right? We talked about that a while back. But if you're eating junk food with no minerals in it, you're going to be mineral deficient.
Right.
And that's the same thing with the soil.
We're a little bit trickier because we can actually, what did they say? It's not what you ingest, it's what you absorb.
Exactly right.
So
Exactly.
that's why you have your stages of spraying the microbes. Like I've noticed that you start very small in the beginning, or light so as not to burn or scare the plants, perhaps if they've been on chemicals, it might just
Well,
shock them or
what it is that the microbes will say, "Oh, here's a junk. We're going to get rid of it." And the way it gets rid of it, especially chemical fertilizers, which are basically a salt, they end up in the soil, and the microbes know they have to get rid of that, and it pumps it out. It gets rid of it through whatever means, and yeah, the plants will all of a sudden get burned, show signs of extreme stress, because it's like when you have cancer or a toxin in your body, and you take something that eliminates the toxins, all of a sudden you go into a healing crisis. All of a sudden you get sick. You got too much toxins coming out of your body. That's exactly what happens in the
right, like if a
soil.
person is very toxic that fasts,
Right, exactly right.
very, very sick, as opposed to someone that's not so sick, they won't
Right.
fasting.
So it's important to, when we go to. I know from experience, when I go to a new customer's place, they've been using chemical fertilizers for a long time, and they have a massive amount build up everywhere, and the worms die and the microbes die, and so what we're basically doing is we're cleaning them out. We're cleaning the biology, cleaning the soil of toxins, which it does. It eliminates. It has to go somewhere. It goes right into the plants, or it comes out, lots of different ways. So that's what we're doing. We have to gently give them something that doesn't cause shock or stress. They will get that. Oh, I don't like good food, right? If you're used to eating junk food, don't give me the good food. I'm starving here, right? Same thing
Yeah.
with your body. Exactly right. I read somewhere interesting the other day that chlorella helps eliminate toxins in your body. You eat too much toxins, you eliminate it too fast, and you get sick.
Thanks for bringing up chlorella, because
See?
because you could take handfuls of that person, you can,
Right.
fine, you take 20, 30, 40 caps, where some,
55.
how many?
55.
Where someone who's not as healthy as you will just have diarrhea.
Right. I have a friend of mine. I said, don't take 15, take one, because a packet comes to 300. Take one a day. It's going to take you a whole year, so you can take more than one. And he took 5 and he had diarrhea for 5 days. His body was just, and he stopped doing it. I said, well, there's not, and of course, he's dead now because he's so much toxins in his body, his heart, everything, brain gives out. So yeah, you have to go slowly. So when we have a new customer, we basically tell them, just take one chlorella, one pill. So we did a customer the other day, the first time I did it, I'm not going to sock it to them. I'm just going to gently introduce the soil and the trees. So there's foliar feeding and there's stuff that we put to the soil. Foliar feeding is like intravenous feeding. Okay, so we give them a minerally rich diet that they can drink through their leaves. At the same time, we introduce the soil to just a little bit of microbes. There's so many different kinds of microbes. Some are really gentle, some are really active. You don't want the super active ones unless they're already clean, unless their soil is clean, because it will eliminate toxins. I learned that from experience.
Wow. Well, some of the properties you've been at decades, and you could tell they just soak it up. They're lush, they're gorgeous, and they're chemical free. But then once in a while, they get new gardeners who sneak in the chemical fertilizer that makes the grass greener and grow faster. So then there's more mowing, and that must be really hard to navigate with these customers to get everyone on the same page as far as the gardeners and you, and especially when you're coming once a month and the gardeners are coming every week. How do you handle that?
Think of it this way: if you go to a doctor and then if you want to get rid of the toxins that are in your body, if you then go switch to eating more natural foods and things like that, if you take a toxin after you're healthy, you will know it. Your body will go, whoa, right? You'll get sick, you get all kinds of stuff will happen. Your stomach will go, I don't like that. So it's a process of teaching people. Yeah, we're doctors, we're soil doctors, and this is a patient, and we want that patient to recover slowly and to get healthier and a more permanent places in a more permanent way, more sustainable. They stay healthier longer, not be healthy right away. People are so used to feeding a chemical fertilizer, which right away looks really big and stuff like that, but it's not healthy. Talk to a doctor about a muscle builder, how much testosterone, all that stuff they take. Their body's under stress, their lungs are under stress, their heart's under stress. Not good.
Right. Are you making compost, Andy?
I'm not making any right now. It's very difficult for me to do because I live in a house with no yard. I have a couple of other people that are making it for me the way I want them to make it, because it's the correct way and the wrong way to make compost, in my opinion. Because what we want these microbes in the soil. We don't want this good-looking soil.
How do you know if it's made right or wrong? Can you test it?
Right. There's a really cool lab that's going to be coming on as a guest, and we're going to have an Invisible Gardener soil test kit. These guys also test the microbial activity in the soil. They'll tell you, this is the microbes you have. You're not that you need to know their name. There's thousands and almost billions of names of microbes. They just tell you how live your soil is. And the soil is never entirely dead. I tell people the good guys and the bad guys don't live in the same place. So it's wrong to say dead, no, because they also have bad microbes and bad diseases and stuff like all diseases are bad basically for us, for people. So that's the key.
And good compost can eradicate.
Yes, ma'am. Good compost I tell people the good guys and the bad guys don't live in the same place. It's like a battle. So if you help the good guys out a little bit, they will beat the heck out of the bad guys, and the bad guys can't survive. The microbes naturally control diseases and pests. If you have an ant problem, that means that your soil is not active enough to control the ants or whatever disease or whatever pest.
So is compost, because I've seen it around. We used to get it from a mutual friend in burlap bags. I don't know if that's still happening, but it's in plastic bags at all the nurseries.
Right.
Is it still alive?
No. If it's alive, it needs oxygen. It needs to have air flowing through it, otherwise it will die. I know the person that you're talking about, the problem with that is that he would make it, but it would sit there for weeks, if not months, in the sun, dying. And
Okay.
then you could test to see, no, ideally the way you do compost is you use it within 24 hours or so, a few days. You keep it alive, right? And then you put it, I tell people, when you make compost, finish it in the soil. So that way you're inoculating your soil when you make the compost.
I think Boo Blend has tiny little holes in the plastic
Yes,
bag.
it does.
Now
Yes,
that
it does. That's why it does that, right?
so that okay, and
Right.
so then therefore, if you see plastic bags with little holes, that's a better compost than if it doesn't have any little holes.
Exactly right. Most of them don't do that because it's very difficult to store for any length of time. A lot of times people have, you ask them, how long is that compost? When was it made? Oh, a year ago. Well, it's not very much alive. It has the nutrients in it, may have some minerals in it, may look good, but it doesn't have the living organisms that you want. That's the key to it.
Right.
Right.
It looks good. Should it taste good too? Should you be able to eat your compost?
It will smell good, and eating compost is not going to really help you out very much. I never tried eating compost because I learned that it doesn't really tell me anything, whether it tastes good or not. My taste bud doesn't really recognize that. You can look at it, and you can. It shouldn't smell like manure. People say, "Oh, I'm going to." I was at the store the other day. It said compost, no manure added. Well, it's not really compost.
Right.
See, because it's in order to and we're going to cover that coming up. There's a proper way to make compost, and there's a not so proper way to make compost if you're using it for healing the soil. If you just want to recycle your food and have good dark soil, yeah, it's good soil is good, but you still need to add the microbes to it. And that's why we're going to do a show on how you can add microbes to it, because not too many people have the ability to go get animal manure,
Well, that's
but
what you do.
right? Yeah, exactly right.
The IG services and your incredible super seaweed that
Secret
everyone can buy.
secret sauce, as you call it.
Secret sauce, your super seaweed.
Right.
And
And
you have that for sale on your website.
right, it's called Super Seaweed. It's available on invisiblegardener.com. And so people can do that. There's so many when I first started this, it was very difficult for me to buy anything that's not out there. Now it's tons of it available that you can buy, but most of the stuff you buy are not alive. They're microbes, they're in a suspended state, some are alive, some aren't. And it's also good soil. So what you really need to do is either learn how to make your own microbes. That's why we have a worm farm. See, we get live microbes and we use them up right away. Or we can get it from somebody else that has to make compost. So that's what compost tea is all about, live compost. If you ever made compost tea, you have to use it within 24 to 48 hours, otherwise they'll all die and they'll stink up. That's what you need. You need to concentrate on live compost, on live microbes, you see. And there are lots, like a good organic gardening club, you're always going to find somebody that makes the best compost and he does everything as rock. And that's what you want to do. And you add that, make a tea out of that, and then add that, spray your compost pile with that. And that's
So
all hard.
the worm farm down there at the bottom of my property that it's pretty rough.
Right. And nowadays you can go online, you can find tons and tons of different worm farm that people make, different sizes, different shapes, whatever is convenient for people that you can use, in your garage, in your backyard. You don't have to do the big pile or the big bins system. There's so many different ways to do it now. It's really, really cool. We're gonna get you a really nice one for you to use so that you don't have to go through all that process. I did it myself because I just made it what convenient to do for me,
I don't
but
know how to even pull the liquid out of that. I'm going to explain it to everyone. It's a horse trough that horses would come drink, raised up on cinder blocks or frame, and a bucket at one end where it drains, where the worm juice drains.
right.
But there
Yeah,
doesn't, in that trough, which is probably what, 6 feet by 4 feet deep or six
exactly right.
feet deep.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the amount of juice it's producing, it's not that, how do you get gallons of worm juice? Does it have to be a bigger worm farm?
No, we're going to have a whole show on the worm juice, but
Okay.
make it real simple is if you have a container like that, normally in the soil, you don't have to worry about this. But if you have a container, then you have something living, they produce toxin. You have to give them a bath every once in a while. Mother Nature would do that. Remember when it rained so much, we got almost 5 gallons of the stuff because clean water came through, even though nowadays rain is not so clean. So that's what you have to do. If you leave them alone, the worms will die because their environment becomes toxic. They're not being clean of whatever they're. So that's why we add a little bit of filtered clean water on a regular basis. And then the trick is you make more. How you make more, and that's what we're going to cover that too coming up, because basically I buy a beer making machine and the
Oh yeah, that's going to be a great show.
yeah, the beer making machine basically normally makes beer, but how it does it, bubbles it and circulates the water, and that's exactly what we want to do. So we can take 1 gallon of worm juice, put it into 15 gallons of distilled clean water, and we end up with 15 gallons of worm juice.
Because the bubbling effect creates microbes.
The air, the microbes
Oxygen.
double, microbes double, they make more microbes.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's really cool. So you can look under a microscope at 1 gallon of worm juice, and then look under the microscope at 15 gallons of worm juice. You will not tell the difference. A microbiologist say there's no difference. The same microbes are here and microbes are there. They multiply like crazy, and that's why we have a bubbler in our machine. Blah, 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 and you have to do it right. It's almost immediate. The oxygen goes woohoo, and they make more. More of them multiply.
Isn't
So
that
cool.
interesting? It's like oxygen or the energy of it, and then it
Yeah.
just goes back to how everything is energy.
Yes. Right.
I mean, just that's kind of a stretch, but it really isn't, because if oxygen's creating living microbes, then that's really,
Yeah. The oxygen the microbes eat the oxygen, gets them happy, and they double. Poof, and then they double, and then they double.
you're like Bill Nye the Science Guy. Am I allowed
And it's really cool, and that's really easy. That's how we do it. If you add too much water, they drown because they can't handle the water, too much water. So that's why it's tilted, so it drains on one side. If I add a gallon of water, percolates through, that's more than enough to clean it up. And what happens too is that the worms multiply too. So I started off with 10,000 worms, and next month it'll be 20,000 worms, and next after that will be 40,000 worms. Next thing you know, you have 150,000 worms. When you have that many worms and they're producing so much poo-poo, they need a way to clean up, to help them clean up, and that's why you need a garden filter out the water, pour the water through very gently, percolates through, it comes out the other side, and that's your juice.
right? Just like everything, what you focus on will grow.
Exactly right. And then on top of that, once every 6 months or so, you take everything out. You have this really rich worm compost that the worms make, and you can make a tea from that also because it's rich in the worm eggs. You can even put in your garden. Then you'll make some more worm juice from that. So you have an endless supply of this stuff coming once you get the ball rolling. You could be like your local worm juice person.
Right. That's so incredible. I really want to get this worm juice thing going,
Right.
because I worm juice for everybody.
I
I mean,
told you that your kids could do like a worm juice stand.
I love that idea.
Right? You say worm juice, and they have to order in advance. A friend of ours, you know who he is, says, "Well, how am I going to do this? How do I time it for people?" They order it in advance. You have to use it. They come buy it. They pay for it. They come and get it. They have to use it within 24 hours, because after that, you can't. We can still use it, but it stinks, and it's not the same microbes.
Right. What's the real shelf life? Is it 2 days? Or like you say, 24 hours? But is it still good after 24 hours?
It really depends on how warm it is. The warmer it is, the faster everything goes down really fast. You can actually put it in a cool, dark place. It'll last 48 hours. After that, it's a different product. It's not
Right.
the same.
It's just like juicing. I mean, if you're gonna, you
Right.
have to drink the juice when you juice it, or you lose a lot of the nutrients. It just becomes a simple sugar.
Right, exactly right. The biology in that thing converts it, and that's what happens here. The microbes If they don't have a way to grow in a good environment, they die and they produce this entirely different. When your nose says, "Oh, that stinks," then there's a different biology going on entirely.
Right. And you have, this kind of ties in with your gorgeous tip of the day, Andy.
Right. The tip of today, and this is a very important tip, is based, and it's really very simple. Take good care of your soil, and the soil will take care of you. I should say, love your soil, and your soil will love you. I really love that part. I love it. Thank you very much for introducing that concept out, because once people love the soil will love you back.
Mhm.
Isn't that cool?
And that was Lao Tzu that said that, probably 13th, 14th century.
And they know anybody with any brains will go, gee, maybe we should take care of what we're using to grow our food in.
Right.
And it's not just food, it's the environment. The whole earth is depending upon the healthy soil.
That's why we called the podcast From Your Soul to Your Soil.
That's right. That's exactly right. If your soul wants to be happy, it has to be in a happy body. Otherwise,
Right.
you'll be sick. And you'll be like, oh God, I want to die, I want to die. But if you're happy, you only can be happy if your soil is also happy. People don't make that connection, because if your soil is sick, we're going to be sick and not happy at all.
Mm-hmm. And we've actually seen that firsthand.
Yes, all the time.
Well, Andy, this has been incredible. People can go to your website, right? invisiblegardener.com and
Right.
sign up for your newsletter. They can make inquiries, and we can talk about their inquiries on your podcast here.
But what I would do is please like us and follow us.
Please like us and follow
Right.
us.
If you have any questions, use it in the comments below, and we will include the question in our upcoming show. Remember, it's invisible, like INVISIBLE, and the hard part is Gardener, GARDENER.com.
Okay.
So until next time, you're Michelle Bella, and I'm Andy Lopez, the Invisible Gardener.
Lopez. Don't panic, it's organic.
Take care, everybody. Nice talking to everybody. Nice to see you here. We're going to be on a regular basis more and more.
We will.
Any questions, anything you want to talk about, we're here for you.
Thank you, Andy.
By the way, the background is one of our customers.
One of your old-time customers that you've been.
They've been around for 20 years now. The gardeners are going, what the heck? What the heck, right?
Gorgeous. Looks gorgeous, Andy.
All right, take care now, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening to my show or watching it. See you next week. Remember, it's invisiblegardener.com. That's me, Invisible Gardener. Bye.